Well, I was in a position to do some testing. I recently got two ice damage dealers up and going, and I wanted to see who was the best ice damage dealer between the two. Those two being Gushinso Memento and Starchasm Nyx. Whereas Gushinso Memento is an awakened character, which should mean that she's more powerful compared to a non-awakened character. They're both S rank, natural S rank battle suits. Well, from the conclusion of my test, what it revealed is that Starchasm Nyx is the better ice damage dealer. And from that, let's say, conclusion, or from my analysis of those tests, if I was in a position to where I only had one Valkyrie for ice damage to invest into, as far as like getting their weapon fully upgraded, I would have to invest into Starchasm Nyx. Now, what I'll do is just go into a little bit of a discussion. I guess first, I recently acquired Genshinsu Memento from the War Treasury. I bought her character card, and so I recently got her acquired. I had her weapon for about a month or so now. So this was already forged and it's at level 50. Starchasm Nyx, I already had that Valkyrie some time ago. I got her when she was first released. I was fortunate enough to be able to get her character card from just by using expansion supply cards that I had saved. Her weapon, I recently acquired from the supply, and I was fortunate enough to get her weapon in about, 2 multis and a few single pulls. So once I was in a position to have both those Valkyrie battle suits, as well as their pre-arm, or as well as their signature weapons, and be able to get them to pre-arm, that's what prompted me to do the testing. On a side note, I did get some stigmata pieces from pulling on the supply for Starchasm Nyx weapon, and I did get Welt Yang M, which I salvaged, and I also too got Vern Top, which I salvaged. Now that might seem crazy, but the reason why I salvaged it is because if I'm going to invest in a 5-star stigmata, I'm going to invest in a stigmata that I can use across the board. Also, too, I don't want to spend more crystals trying to pull to get the remaining stigmata pieces for Vern, even though that is really powerful for Starchasm Nyx. So the goal would be to build Anashariak, and I did acquire a piece of Anashariak some many months ago, and at this point in time, since I'm now in a position to where I want to build for an ice damage dealer, I regret salvaging that stigmata when I did get it. So I'm stuck in a process of trying to work towards getting Anashariak through the forge system. So I'm currently developing a strategy to work towards getting this built the quickest way, or the most efficient way possible. So getting back onto the discussion about the Valkyries, what I did was I did 2 tests. The first test was using the Memorial Arena boss. What is this? A Yae Kasumi. And in this test, the goal was to see, were both Valkyries capable of pushing phase 1. Right now, both their pre-arm weapons are just at level 50, and the only equipment that I'm sharing between them is the Scott. So they simply don't have the damage to be able to beat their arena boss. I would have to fully upgrade their pre-arms, and I would probably have to put them in some type of, gotcha stigmata or a very good crafted basic stigmata. So getting out of phase 1 was possible with both Genshinso Memento as well as SNyx. Although it was much more difficult with Genshinso Memento because the skill curve to play with her is much higher. You have to have a deep understanding of this fight's mechanics. You have to have a deep understanding of a Genshinso Memento skill mechanics in terms of how much damage each of her attack skills do, in terms of what skills buff her ice damage, as well as the cooldowns for all of her attack skills and well as buff skills. And so you have to be able to coordinate all these things in order to be able to get a, let's say, consistent burst out of her. If you should fail to coordinate any of these things, you will find yourself having to restart the battle because you missed a, let's say, an optimized burst, and therefore you won't be able to push the phase. You might come close, but you won't be able to push it. Whereas with SNyx, she's given a lot of the skills in order to be able to, let's say, consistently put out high ice damage or high damage output. The key thing being is that one, she has low cooldowns on her ultimate, and her weapon skill has a low cooldown. Also, two, her ultimate can reset her weapon skill cooldown. Also, two, because of her weapon skill, she's able to, not only just because of her weapon skill, but also too because of the, let's say an aspect of her charge or special attack. When she does a charge attack, she's automatically brought towards the enemy. So it's like she's just given a lot of the things necessary in order for her to be able to, one, stay in range, and two, repeatedly do consistent high damage. Everything is already streamlined. You don't have to make a lot of effort. So you could practically push phase 1 by just almost mashing buttons. I mean, you do have to coordinate and her damage, make sure you're using her cooldowns and resetting her cooldowns. But so long as you're doing that, you'll pretty much, get the damage output you would need out of her. The second test that I did was in the Universal Mirage. Glacial Fences Floor 6. And the goal was to see, with the same team and, again, sharing the same equipment, same stigmata pieces, and both their weapons at level 50, both their pre-armed weapons at level 50, was I able to clear Glacial Fences Floor 6 with both Genshinso Memento and SNyx. What I found out was that I was not able to clear Glacial Fences Floor 6 with the Genshinso Memento. The reason why was because she doesn't have the capacity to group enemies. So since there are 2 ads that you have, or 2 like trash mobs you have to beat before you get to the boss, it was very challenging to try to play and keep the enemies always together. It took a lot of extra effort to try to always keep repositioning yourself around the enemies so that way your attacks would hit both of them at the same time. And that extra effort consumed seconds off the clock. The other reason why is because Genshinso Memento, she doesn't consistently output enough ice damage. In these Universal Mirage stages, especially on floor 6, let's say the key type of damage that the Valkyrie Battlesuit does is amplified by 80%, while at the same time, the any other type of damage that the I'm sorry, did I say 80%? Okay, it says here 70%. Okay, so that means that the key type of damage that the Valkyrie Battlesuit does is amplified by 70%, whereas any other type of damage is reduced by 70%. So what happens is that with Genshinso Memento, a lot of her skills do physical damage as well as ice damage, and the amount of ice damage that they do isn't as significant as the physical damage that she's doing. So, and you have to, do other skills in order to boost her total damage, total ice damage output, or her total damage. And those skills, they have a rather long cooldown in compared to SNyx. So it's like, the ice damage output is just not there. So in any stage where the boost to damage is not total and it's just to the key type of damage, which in this case is ice, Genshinso Memento won't be as powerful as another Valkyrie battlesuit that does primarily ice damage when they're attacking. And so with SNyx, I was able to clear Glacial Fences floor 6. Because SNyx, again, a lot of her attacks just do flat out ice damage. Also, too, she has very low cooldowns as well as SP requirements for some of her skills. And she's able to reset her weapon skill. So because of those two things, she's able to consistently put out a high amount of ice damage, which allowed her to be able to beat Glacial Fences floor 6. So those were the two tests that I did. And that's how I was able to come to my conclusion that I stated at the beginning of the video. If you want, you can stick around and watch the actual test that I did so you can see the results for yourself. And hopefully, I found it very informative, and hopefully you'll find what I shared in this video informative as well.
今目的地に向かって敵は見えないところにおる。承知した。今目的地に向かって消えよ。消えよ。敵は見えないところにおる。この一撃で勝負を決めようぞ。承知した。今目的地に向かっている。消えよ。見えないところにおる。封印解除。承知した。今目的地に向かっている。消えよ。消えよ。ねえ。一歩遅れたか。
ゼーレ？私がゼーレ。ゼーレが認めたゼーレ。かくれんぼ。やっはっはっやっはっせいはっはっ
しばらく出撃をしておらんな。期待にハッカーズタイム。
ゼーレ、私がゼーレよ。ゼーレが認めたゼーレ。
Well, I forgot to show her weapon when I was switching to this character. But if you were to pay attention to when I was doing the gearing plan swap, you would notice that it did indeed say level 50.